Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to take a look at a really unique deck that we're taking a look at today, and that is the new Mega Gallade with the Dunsparce. This is a deck that I must admit I've been kind of struggling to make, and that's not for the reason you might think. It's more for the Gallade is why I've been struggling with it. So as per usual, in the description below there's going to be usual links, double the deck list which is also available to copy in the description below. There's the games that we'll play, and of course the outro and what I think of the deck. So today we're going to take a look at the new Stage 2 Mega Gallade with 350 HP. I feel like Mega Gallade's been a bit scammed though, because, you know, Mega Lucario has 340 HP and this only has 10 HP more and it's a Stage 2, but still. We have two attacks today, but we're mainly going to be focusing on the first one, Gale Slash. For 50 plus, if this Pokemon has no damage counters on it, this attack does 150 more damage. Of course, with it being a 1 energy fighting cost, you can kind of understand where this is going if you are if you have an idea of deck building. And of course, we do have the second attack, Marvelous Edge, for 240, which is 2 fighting and a colorless. Probably never going to use that attack because we don't play a lot of energy in this deck, but just something to consider. Gale Slash is going to be our main focus today. We're not playing any damage mods for this attack because 200 with fighting weakness is pretty relevant, you know. There is obviously Kangaskhan, you know, Fez, Meowth, even though Meowth is dead anyway from the 200 damage, but you get the point. We're mainly going to be focusing on just doing 200 every single turn with, you know, max healing in general. The issue is if you try and put in, you know, like Premium Power Pros, it makes the deck a little bit less consistent. And so I've gone with a bit of a more creative route to obviously go with our attacks and stuff like that. We also have the new Ninetales in here. Obviously, you may remember this from the Mega Pyro video. Now, obviously, in the case of Gallade, it's a little bit trickier because obviously Gallade has to have no damage counters on it to do the full 200. Ninetales obviously moves every damage counter off our bench, one of our bench Pokemon to your opponent's active. Now, the issue we need to be careful of is obviously Gallade is a fighting type and is psychic weak. With Lillie's Clefairy running around the format, it's unlikely we're going to be getting to use it fully, but if we happen to survive a hit, we can use Ninetales to obviously offset that, which should be pretty beneficial for us. And we are playing 2 Fire Energy, so in theory we could use Will-O-Wisp, but we'll get to that. Of course, we do have the Dunsparce as one of our draw engines. We also have the Dun EX in here, just for a little bit of, you know, Tenacious Tail shenanigans and also Destructive Drill. Like I said, we're not playing a huge amount of energy, so we kind of want to avoid the Crustle matchup. It's mainly here for Tenacious Tail, just in case we run into any Mega Box decks. Because obviously they do tend to play a lot of, you know, they play Lilith Clefairy, you know, Tilmas Gogapon. But that's mainly why it's in here, but we can do Destructive Drill if we have to, but it's something we don't really want to do. But other than that, it's a pretty standard list. Obviously, we do have Meowth in here as well to help us out a little bit. But let's go to the deck list, and let's have a proper look. And welcome to the deck list. This has been a really tricky card to actually build a deck around. I did try a Dusknoir version to obviously improve the raw damage of Gallade, but obviously you're coughing up prize cards, and if you're facing, you know, Clefairy, you just die. So, you know, it's an annoying one, and obviously I've tried to, you know, inspire the list a little bit, like the Mega Lopunny tank decks. But obviously Lopunny does have fighting weakness, which isn't as relevant as you might think. But with Gallade having Psychic, it can be quite awkward. But obviously I've tried to, you know, offset that with a few different ways in which we can, you know, substitute this. So of course we're playing 3 Ralts, 2 Kirlia. Obviously we have no way to use Call Sign in this deck. We're not playing, you know, basic Psychic Energy, there's no point. We're only playing, you know, Rocky Fighting Energy and of course the Fire Energies and stuff. So we're not going to be using Call Sign today. Then of course we have 3 Mega Gallades, 3 Dunsparces, 2 Dudunsparce, 1 Dudunsparce EX, 2 Vulpix. I've gone with this one because I've not actually done a video with this one yet, and, well, it's actually the more relevant one in my opinion. Then of course we have 2 Ninetales and 1 Meowth. Then we have 4 Wally's Compassion. If you didn't expect this in the deck list, well, I'm surprised at that. I did debate Monkey Dory in this list. You know, like the one Monkey Dory, one Dark Energy combo. The issue is I don't really have the space for that. I can obviously, you know, like cut down the supporters a little bit, but, you know, I just don't think there's safe room for, you know, Monkey Dory with that. You could cut an Air Balloon for a Monkey Dory, but then you just got to find room for a Dark, and that'd be quite, well, that's been quite tricky so far at least. Then, of course, we have 3 Lilies, 3 Hildas, 2 Boss, 1 Surfer. This is mainly just to help out with a little extra draw and obviously retreat and stuff, because Mega Gallade does have 2 retreat costs, and obviously if we do have to go in with the Dunsparce, he's a chonky boy in terms of his retreat cost. Then 4 Buddy Poffin, 3 Ultra Ball, 3 Poké Pad, 2 Rare Candy, 2 Night Stretcher, 1 Special Red Card, 1 Prime Catcher as our A spec. I did debate something like, you know, Max Belt, but, you know, there's not really anything that comes to mind where we're going to need that. And Prime Catcher's good enough anyway, because obviously most of the time we're going to be playing Wallies, not Boss. So the fact that we can go Prime into something, you know, like Meowth, even Dudunsparce EX is fighting weak, so you can potentially do that as well. And we can take advantage of the weakness in the format right now. We can definitely do that. Then, of course, we have 3 Air Balloons, 2 Battle Cage to obviously help out. We would have to obviously change the stadium around as well if we was going to play Monkey Dory, because obviously Battle Cage doesn't help with that. It's only for the active Pokemon, but anyway. Then we have 4 Rocky Fighting Energy, 2 Fire Energy, and 1 Basic Fighting Energy. I must admit, this has been a very tricky card to actually make work in terms of, you know, like, trying different lists. I've tried, I think, 4 different versions of this deck, and so far this is the one I'm most comfortable with. I've paired Gallade with, like I said, Dusknoir. I paired it with Mega Lopunny, which is why, you know, the Wallies are still in here and everything. Because, you know, both of them use 1 energy attacks, and obviously they use the Dunsparce engine, so that was just my thought process. What other variants have I tried? I've tried, I think, like, Monkey Dory, like, you know, Adrenabrain, you know, Crispin, obviously getting Fighting and Dark into play in the same turn. You know, I've tried that, but it's, so far, this is the variant that I think has the most potential for Gallade. You know, the Dusknoir variant's nice, but then you put in more candies in the list. You won't be able to play Prime Catcher because you realistically have to play Grand Tree. You've then got to play a thicker line of Ralts, Kirlia, and, well, the Gallade is fine at 3, but, you know, you've got to play a 3rd Kirlia, a 4th Ralts. You've then got to put in, you know, the Ghosts, which, you know, we've offset that with the Vulpix and the Ninetales. There's a lot of thought that goes into these decks sometimes, and, well, I think this is the safest option, you know. It covers a few more bases. But like I said, if you think you want to put Monkey Dory in this list, I would swap out the Air Balloon, or 1 of the Air Balloons, and the Surfer. You could definitely do that for a 1 Monkey, 1 Dark combo. Like I said, at that point, though, you would have to switch from Battle Cage, and there's not really a great stadium that we want to be playing, because obviously there's Jamming Tower, but obviously we play Air Balloons, so we don't really want that. Other than that, really, you know, we could play, you know, Academy at Night and put Wally's Compassion on top of the deck. That could be an option to obviously prevent hand disruption from, you know, the likes of Special Red Card, and obviously, you know, anything in that regard. But honestly, I think this card is just not worth building around. It's been very awkward to try and get to work. Anywho, let's get into a match and see how we do. And welcome to our first game. We're paired up against someone in Mewtwo rank. I'm kind of hoping that we can take advantage of our fighting weakness today, because that is something that this deck is kind of geared towards. Obviously, we're not playing any like damage mods or anything like that. I don't think we need to, per se. Let's try going first, because I've not actually tried going first for this deck. But, you know, it's a tricky one. Okay, so we've got a mulligan, that's fine. And we've got Eevee sleeves, which could be Eevee box, which is bad for us, because they play Sylveon. Which, that's not good. And also they play Clefairy, so also not good. I mean, if it is Eevee box, we could potentially, you know, have something going for us. Okay, we start the Vulpix, that's fine. I can live with that. Let's see what we can do. They're going to be very confused when we bench our Ralts and attach this to it, but, well, that's just how it is, I'm afraid. And Psyduck, which immediately proves why the Dusknoir version is kind of not the best right now. So we have prize of Ralts, that's completely fine. We've got nothing else in the prize cards there. We've got all the Gallades and the Kirlias. We've got 1 Lillies in the prize cards, which I'm fine with. We've prized 2 Wallies, which could be a problem. We've got the Prime Catcher in there, and we've got the Fire in there, so that's good. So we have prized nothing in terms of energy. Everything looks fine here. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go Rocky to the Ralts. I'm going to keep this Poké Pad in hand, and I'm going to pass. Because what I can do is, if I want to thin this hand down, obviously I can go Poké Pad for a Dudunsparce, attach our fighting energy probably to the Ralts, just so we can get it set up. But yeah, they're going to be very confused when they see Rocky fighting energy going on a Ralts, but once we obviously get the big boy out, it'll obviously start to make sense from there. But yeah, I don't think this is a very good deck. I'm just going to admit that straight away. And the raw secret box in hand. We love to see it. I don't think this is Eevee box then. Ooh, it's Dragonite. Ooh, that's tough. Okay, we can definitely do something. They're probably ditching Meowth because obviously they're afraid of potentially fighting attacks and stuff. So maybe that's why they're doing it. But yeah, I don't think Mega Gallade is a very good card. I think it's probably the weakest Mega, apart from Mega Dragalge that we've had in this set. Mega Dragalge has obviously got, you know, its own problems with, you know, the likes of Mist Energy being everywhere in the format. Obviously, people can just retreat and stuff like that. So they grabbed Buddy Poffin, well, a Poké Pad, Power Glass, Lilies, and a Lumio City. That's interesting. Obviously, this lets them search a Pokemon, put it on their bench, and then they end their turn. So, not a bad idea, actually. But hopefully we can make use of what we've got here, because we do have pretty good draw right now. There's Dratini. Maybe we could draw into Prime Catcher and take it out. I don't know. There's Dawn. So they can grab themselves a Dragonair, Dratini, and a Dragonite if they want. They did bin a Dragonite, and they mainly only play 2, so that's something to consider. They might have prized their other Dragonite, which is good for us, but some lists are playing 3. The list I've been experimenting with plays 2. You've obviously seen it in the introduction. It's Dragonite Lopunny. I've been experimenting with that. But yeah, I don't think this deck is worth building, in my opinion, but still. Oh, they've got a Greninja package. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, it makes sense. You know, they do have the switch outs of Dragonite. But now I know what to target. I'm going to target the Froakie instead. I can deal with Dragonite later. And we can obviously Ninetales move the damage off. So that's something we can definitely do. Okay, well, the Night Stretcher's useless. Let's go for a Poké Pad. Grab the Dunsparce. Then we'll go Evolve. Evolve. Do we want to put this fighting energy back in the deck just so we can thin the hand down? I think it's fine. We can attach to the Dunsparce. Surfer into the Dunsparce. Draw 3. Then we can run away draw. That's what we needed. We needed that candy. So then we'll go into the Ralts. Rare Candy into Gallade. I can then bump his Stadium. We can then attach the Air Balloon. And we will Gale Slash for 200. Take out the Psyduck. Not the best board state right now, but at least we can make use of, you know, we can make use of Wally's Compassion here. So even if they do hit us with Dragonite, we do tank the hit because we are 350 HP, not 330. But yeah, Battle Cage is mainly here to obviously stop Dragapult. That's mainly my thought process when building this deck. But still, just something to think about. There is a lot of consideration that goes into some of these decks that I build on this channel, and well, this is one of them because it is a tricky one to build. So if I was to think what they're going to do, they're going to go Lightning here, Water here, evolve this to Frogadier, and then they can summon Jutsu, is what I would imagine they'd do. They can't knock me out without using Greninja's ability. And yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. So they can go for an Evolutionary Guidance. We need to get our board established because at the minute we're not really doing anything. There's Frogadier. We need to Buddy Poffin for another Ralts and a Dunsparce. Like I say, the Ninetales is going to help us here, but we are going to struggle in this situation, I think. But the nice thing is because they're relying on Crispins as their main energy acceleration, we could be okay here. I don't think their main focus is Dragonite. I think that's just there as an extra attacker. They're probably going to be playing quite a few Crispins. And yeah, they're going to Water Gun. I know exactly why they've done that. They're trying to offset the damage. Unfortunately, my friend, I do have outs. So let's go for Ralts and Dunsparce. So then we can go... We're going to have to use Wally's here just to heal it. And then the energy comes back. And then we reattach again. And we Gale Slash for 200. Take out the Throw Key. That's the only thing about this deck, is it's so vulnerable to even Plink damage like that. There's not really a lot I can do about it. Which sucks, but that's just the way it is, I'm afraid. There's the Greninja. Evolutionary Guidance. The nice thing is he has no energy on this, but obviously Battle Cage doesn't stop this. In fact, no, it does stop this. Battle Cage does stop that, I believe. Because it's effective attacks and abilities from the opponent's Pokemon, so it should stop Mortal Shuriken on the bench at least. On the active, no, it won't stop it. There's an Air Balloon. There's a Power Glass. And a Lillie's. We really need to find something, you know, worth at the minute, because at the minute we're not really doing anything, and that's kind of a problem. We need to find a Fire Energy for our Ninetales. But like I said, this is the main trouble that I've been having with this deck. It's just, you know, against big bad Megas like Greninja, we just struggle. There's not much we can really do about it. They're going to grab Fez. That would be a nice target for us, but unfortunately we don't have a Gutting card. I mean, we could try and power up for Marvelous Edge, but it's like, I don't know. I'm happy to blink this for 50, though, if I have to. Here comes Badoo. That's annoying. I really don't want to see a Badoo right now. I mean, the Badoo's fine, because then we can take a prize card, and then we just need to take out a Mega. So that's something, I guess. But I'm hoping that, you know, even if he goes for the Badoo plus, you know, Mega Greninja, it's fine. It's just we need to be careful of Dragonite. That's the main thing. He's got a Mortal Shuriken. He has to do it to the active, though. If he does it to a bench, it won't apply. So there's that. That just means now Dragonite can obviously take us out. So we need to be very careful. We need to get something set up. I know exactly why he's doing this. He's trying to item lock us out of the game and hopefully, you know, disrupt us in that regard. We could obviously still take out Badoo, but then we just kind of falter from there, really. That is an excellent top deck. We get the Meowth. I really needed that. The Meowth there was clutch. I'm going to ignore the Wallies. I'm not going to play Wallies. I'm going to play a Lillie's for turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach to the Ralts, and I'm going to Lillie's. We need to find a Kirlia. Okay, we've got the Kirlia, but obviously we can't do anything right now. We could potentially go into, you know, Rare Candy with the thingamabob later. We have Poké Pad for Dudunsparce, so I think I'm fine here to just take out a Badoo. It sucks, because obviously we are going to lose this Gallade this turn, but I'm kind of hoping. There's one of the Wallies. It's been very tricky to make this deck work, and you can kind of see why. There's so many ways in which you can just disrupt this deck strategy. Because, like I said, we have to play Wallies if we get, you know, minor damage inflicted onto Gallade. Because it's no damage counters. It's not, if it has less than 5, it's just no damage counters whatsoever. But obviously now, the Dragonite is going to come in and start cleaning our clock, which is a big issue. But obviously, the main thing that they seem to be focusing on is they don't have a way to fully restore Dragonite's damage. So maybe we might be able to do something here. I'm not sure. But yeah, we are struggling here at the minute. There's Mega Signal. What they're going to grab off of this. They're probably just doing it to thin, to be honest. That's probably what I would do. I'd just thin a card out. They're going to fail that. That's fine. Like I say, this is the main trouble that this deck suffers with, is, you know, even if a Badoo swings into you, you just do 50 damage, and it's just so poor. And there's not really anything you can do about it. He's got a Mortal Shuriken, but remember, he can't hit the bench. Well, he should be able to hit the bench, because it's an effective ability. I don't know why he's using Mortal Shuriken, to be honest. That's just another discard that you don't need to use. Okay. I don't know why. Did you forget to bump the stadium, maybe? I don't know. You already had the knockout. That was a bit of a waste, but, I mean, it's your deck, not mine. Okay, so Mega Dragonite is going to be our target here. Down goes Gallade, so they do take 3 prize cards. See, the issue here is we don't really have anything that can, you know, trade up into this. I could attack with the Dunsparce EX. That is a potential opportunity that we could do. I could use the Dun EX here to obviously buy us a bit more time. That could potentially be something. Because then I can go Kirlia, and I can obviously go from there. I think that's my strategy here. And I can red card them, so that's pretty good. So let's go for a Poké Pad. I can grab myself a Kirlia. I'll then Ultra Ball away Ralts and a Buddy-Buddy Poffin. And I can grab myself the Dun EX. Because like I say, I can hit them with the Dun. And hopefully that'll be enough. So we'll attach Fire to the Dunsparce. We'll evolve to the Dudunsparce. Then play the red card. Then I can retreat into the Dun EX. I can evolve to the Kirlia. I'll then Buddy Poffin, thin out a Dunsparce. And then Tenacious Tail for 180. We don't two-shot this Dragonite, so we do need, you know, we do need something off of this. But at least we're buying ourselves a little bit of time. And most importantly, this damage is now relevant. That's what we have to consider here. He's going to go into the Fez, interestingly. Brock's scouting. Does he have an answer for the Dun EX, maybe? I doubt it. Not many decks do. You know, he's not going to be playing fighting coverage, I don't think. That was his support for turn. Okay. He's got an Energy Recycler. This is a really weird Dragonite build. He's just going to pass. He's going to leave the Fez in the active. Ooh, Prime Catcher. We don't have it, unfortunately. I'm just going to swing. It's fine. But the Prime Catcher's good. Because if we do get the nuts, we might be able to do something here. Then there's a Lillie. That's fine. He needs a Lightning Energy. Because obviously he couldn't leave the Dragonite in the active. Because otherwise he'd just be screwed. But I'm kind of hoping that he doesn't draw into a Lightning Energy. There's Watchtower. Oh, that's rough. I don't like to see that. That's really not good. The Watchtower here sucks. I think this might be game for us, folks. The Watchtower here just completely shuts us down. Unless we get Lilies into Gallade plus Fighting Energy, we just lose. And we only have, I think, 1 Lilies left. 2. So, yeah, we're really in a bad spot here. With the Watchtower as well, that just feels so bad. I think my best course of action is to promote the Kirlia. Because at least then it's less resources if I need to, you know, do anything. We need something off the top here, deck. Come on. And that's not it. That's a Dudunsparce. I can't do anything. Let's go to a game 2. Unfortunate loss there, but again, that's just how awkward this deck can be. And welcome back to game 2. That was an unfortunate loss there to Mega Greninja Dragonite. Unfortunately, you know, we just don't have it, you know. Watchtower's just seeing so much more play because of the amount of Dudunsparce everywhere. And, you know, we only have 2 stadiums, you know. If they're able to bump enough of our stadiums, that Watchtower's sticking, unfortunately. And that cuts off Meowth, our draw and everything. And if it wasn't for that Watchtower, we might have been able to do something, but I doubt it, personally. But, unfortunately, we just couldn't get there. But I think the deck did okay there. It did what it could, you know. But with how big and bulky some of these Megas can be, it can be quite tricky. So now they have seen pieces, but they've not seen the true deck. Zeraora. Interesting. This will be fun. I'm not sure what he's got in that deck, but we're about to find out. I would guess Eels, if I had to make a guess. Ooh! It's a Mega Manectric deck. Ooh, we hit that for weakness. I'll happily take this matchup. Because they can't take out Gallade unless they have Max Belt. So I'll happily do it. This is a pretty alright matchup for us. The fighting weakness is relevant. Okay, well, am I going to need Vulpix? Because it's 330 HP, yeah. So I'm going to bench the Vulpix. I'm then going to Body Poffin and grab 2 Ralts. Let's have a look at the deck. Obviously, we just top deck that Dudunsparce, and we have the Dudunsparce EX in hand. We've got a Gallade in the prizes. Obviously, we've got 1 in hand. We've got a Hilda in the prize cards. We've got a Lillie's in the prize cards, so that's fine. No Wally's in there, so that's good. Energy-wise, we have got a Rocky in the prize cards, but I'm happy with that. So I'm going to play the Poké Pad, grab ourselves another Dun. And then I can bench that, and then we'll Lillies. I would like to keep that hand, but it's like, I'm not really doing anything after that. There's a basic fighting energy, so we can attach to that, and I think I'll leave it at that. Not a bad turn 1. That is a pretty good setup. But obviously, in this matchup, Vulpix and Ninetales will definitely have a use. But obviously, we don't really, like, other than the Hildas, yeah, it's 330 HP, I thought it was. Other than the Hildas and stuff like that, we don't really have a way to, you know, get damage on, well, like a fire energy onto a Ninetales. Okay, they're going for an attachment to Zeraora, interestingly enough. I'm not really sure what their plan is here. There's Body Poffin. See, I put in a basic fighting energy because obviously 4 Rockies just isn't enough. You know, we do need at least another energy that can help with that regard. There's their Duduns, that's fine. I like the fact they're playing Battle Cage. I think that's pretty appropriate for Mega Manectric. They could scratch here for 20, but I don't think it's really worth them doing that. At least, in my opinion, anyway. I mean, they could, but I don't think it's really necessary. But it's their deck, after all. I'm not really bothered what they do. I mean, we hit this for weakness, so I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, they're going to assert dominance by scratching for 20. Respect, my friend. And there's Gallade. That is brilliant. So let's go for the Poké Pad. We'll grab ourselves a Dudun. I would love Prime Catcher off of this, but I don't think that's going to happen realistically. So we'll run away draw. There's Poké Pad, so I can use another Dun. That's completely fine with me. Was it even in decks? I didn't actually look for Prime Catcher, I must admit. It is. Okay, that's fine. So we'll do that. Do I want to play this Poffin just to help sequencing? I don't think so. Well then, run away draw. Okay, and I can hit them anyway, because, you know, I can just dig. And I can use, you know, Ninetales and stuff. So I'm happy to swing here with Mega Gallade. So we'll go Rare Candy into Mega Gallade. We can then evolve this to a Kirlia on the bench. Body Poffin, grab you. My mouse would actually want to play ball. Attach. We'll go there for you. I can then threaten fire energy, because they may not know. I'm not going to bother playing Hilda, but I will put the Air Balloon here. And then we'll Gale Slash for 400 on the Zeraora. Because if I'll just retreat this Gallade. I'm not really bothered about it. The Air Balloon's just here to make it easier to pivot out at Ninetales, because that way we don't throw away the fire energy. But obviously we do need to be careful. We do need to find another way of getting healing off. But like I said, I could just attach a fire and retreat this Gallade into a Ninetales. And if they come up with this Manectric and use its second attack and do 4 damage, we could just throw it right back at them. So, you know, let's see what they do. They could also Flash Ray, but Flash Ray isn't too relevant. But we'll soon find out. But no, this is a pretty good setup for us here. You know, we have the weakness, which is helping us, because Mega Manectric is seeing a bit of play right now. But obviously we need to be very careful. There's the Dunsparce, so they can do that. That's fine. Do they have turn attachment to the Manectric? There's Meowth. Do they have a Judge, maybe? Let's see. I don't think they really need to play a Judge right now. I think they'd be better off playing Lillies, but, you know, I don't know their mindset, also I don't know their hands, so, you know. And yeah, they're grabbing a Lillies, that's fine. The nice thing is, like I say, we'll use Vulpix and move the damage right back, which is really nice. But like I say, this is why the Dunsparce is just so good, you know. You have a retreat option, you also just draw 3 cards outright. It's really good as a draw engine, but you have to be careful. But because we're also playing Battle Cage, This is fine for me. But they need a damage mod, and I've not seen their race spec yet. So they could have, they could very easily have Max Belt as their race spec. But if they do, we have Hilda for a fighting energy. So I'm fine with this. Let's see what they can do, because they do need to establish another electric. So that's what they need to do. They're going to grab Fez. Ooh, I mean, they could do it after they did Dunsparce, to be fair, so that's not a big deal. But you can kind of see, like, this... I would describe it as cat and mouse sort of gameplay with this deck. You're very much cat and mouse, and that's why I've added in the Vulpix and the Ninetales, because that gives us an extra attacker. You know, we can play basic fires because it works with Marvelous Edge if we have to use Marvelous Edge. You know, that sort of thing. But I don't think this deck is just very good, you know? But there's another Dynamotor. That's their last Lightning Energy in there. They're putting it on the Eel. Are you planning to use Mega Eel against me? I think they are. I think they're going to go in with Mega Eel, potentially. But even then, Mega Eel would also be knocked out by Mega Gallade. But then again, they do play around anything, because I may not draw into a Wally's. Are they going to go with Mega Manectric, though? I don't think they should. They're going to give me an Eel. Okay. We need to be careful, then. Oh, boy. This is proving to be difficult, to say the least. They're going to Poké Pad. They need to grab another electric. Nope, that's fine. That is completely fine. And a pass. They're playing this very carefully, which is correct. Okay, so let's go for a Hilda. We'll grab ourselves a Dudunsparce and a Rocky. Because I don't really need to do anything here. If we can find Prime Catcher, that's completely fine with me. So we'll evolve to Mega Gallade. We'll attach here. Runaway draw. Okay, we didn't get anything there. But I can set up another Gallade, which is nice. So I'm going to do that. I can then evolve to Ninetales. And then, yeah, Gale Slash for 400. Because now we have two Gallades set up. No matter what they do, we should be fine. We just need to find Prime. Because if we find Prime, we can take out this. I am concerned. I believe they're playing Mega Eel. They wouldn't be putting energy on this if they wasn't. So they can paralyze us, which is an annoyance, but we will deal with it. But we do have Surfer in the deck, so we can make use of that. They won't be expecting a Surfer. That's not really why Surfer's in the list. I mean, you probably could cut Surfer, but I mainly just did it for a little bit of extra draw. Because this deck, whilst it does have the Dunsparce as its draw engine, doesn't draw too much. Like, compared to other decks, at least. But yeah, I'm smelling a Mega Eel coming my way, and I don't like it. But we can, like I said, we can play this. We can play down Meowth, use Surfer, and go from there. So I'm happy with this. We might be able to have our first win with this deck, and yep, there it is, Mega Eel. That's fine. And the Dunsparce, they could also split bomb, but it's like, you know, ooh, the stamp. That's brutal. I don't like the stamp here. That's bad. And with those draws off the stamp, yeah, that's bad. They could actually split bomb both Gallades, and then I'm forced to find a Wally's, which is rough, to say the least. This is not good. And yeah, split bomb, they're probably going to hit both Gallades, which is a problem. Yeah, that's exactly what they've done. Oh boy, we need this top deck to be good. And that's not it, Chief. I can hit them for 100, which I'm fine with. But yeah, this is not good. This is not good at all. Because now Mega Manectric can just come in and clean our clock, and there's not much I can do about it. This is really bad. They can even Disaster Shock. And because we don't have... Well, to be fair, Rocky wouldn't stop paralysis. It's only effective attacks. But no, this is really bad. This is a really bad situation to have. We need something. There's Runaway Draw. See, even with Fighting Weakness, like I say, they can play around this perfectly, and they are. You know, they put damage on both Gallades, so I'm forced to just put for 100 because of weakness. And yeah, they're just going to go into Mega Manectric. This is so bad. This is such a bad situation. There's Poké Pad for another eel, so they can, you know, eel to its... They can eel to the eel. This just feels so bad. I don't think we're winning this game, to be brutally honest, folks. Even with the fighting weakness, I don't think we're winning, because, you know, we just don't have the legs. Oh, boy. But yeah, they can Rider's Blast in, discard all energy, take out a Gallade, and then we're pretty much boned, because there's not much I can do. I can do, you know, I can do the nails if we get a Gusting card on the Dunsparce, but then it just feels bad. And they can just split bomb it, so it's like, you know, there's not really much I can do here. But yeah, this is, even with the weakness, this is quite unfortunate. Down goes Gallade, they take 3 prize cards. I'm going to bring up the Ninetales, because at least I can put a single prizer in front of them. If, you know, push comes to shove, but yeah. Okay, the Meowth is good. We do need that Meowth. So last ditch catch, we'll grab ourselves a Wally's. I think it's fine to grab a Wally's here. So then I'll bench Dun, retreat into Gallade, Wally's Compassion, because obviously we haven't attached for turn yet. Attach, and then Cruel, or Gale Slash, and it's a Cruel Slash, it's a different attack. Gale Slash for 400, take out the Mega Manectric, and take 3 prize cards. We need these to be good, and it's pretty good. That is pretty good. But of course the issue here is unless we find our Prime Catcher, then again, actually, no. We should be fine. If they hit the Kirlia with their Split Bomb, that's bad. But maybe they don't see that line. I doubt it, because they did see that line previously. This is not looking good. Like I said, the only way in which we're winning this game now is if we get Prime Catcher Ninetales onto the Dunsparce. That's the only way we're winning this. He's got a boss. Oh, no. He's going to bring up the Meowth. Just don't hit the Kirlia. If you hit the Kirlia, that's really bad for me. I mean, hold on, 180. I could go, if I managed to find Prime Catcher, I could Prime Catcher with Dunsparce EX and take out Meowth. That could be an option, maybe. I don't know, but they're probably going to hit the Kirlia and the Gallade. We don't really have a choice here. We need something. Yeah, they've hit the Gallade and the Kirlia, so now we are forced into this. Okay, the Lilies doesn't help. I'm going to evolve this to the Dun, because we could win off of this. Or Lilies. Oh, we whiffed. We whiffed. We whiffed. Oh, no. I mean, we haven't whiffed yet, because we do have the Dunsparce draw, but the chances of us getting it are quite low. Because even if we do get Prime Catcher now, it's irrelevant. Actually, it's not, because Rocky Fighting Energy counts as a colorless. So no, we have game. We go to Dunsparce, Prime Catcher, the Meowth, and Tenacious Tail 180 for game. Wow. That was close. That was way too close for comfort. But thanks to the Dunsparce EX, we was able to take that win there. That was so close. Even with fighting weakness, this deck is just so awkward. Let's go to a game 3. And welcome back to game 3. That was a really close game there against Mega Manectric with Mega Electros. That was so close. The Dunsparce EX coming in clutch there. Like I say, Rocky Fighting Energy does count for a colorless. Well, it technically counts for Fighting Energy, but if it's attached to a fighting Pokemon, it does, you know, other things. But, you know, at least the Dunsparce... I mean, we could have just Prime Catched the, you know, anything else, but I wanted to do it to the Meowth, because the Meowth was just there, I guess. But no, that was really close. I'm surprised we won that game, but, you know, that's why you got to try and keep your cool when it comes to this sort of thing, you know? But thankfully we was able to take that win. It was just way too close. I did not feel confident in that matchup, even with the fighting weakness. And we have a Dunsparce. Yeah, I'm getting a bit of deja vu here, but that's fine. So we'll go Buddy Poffin for a Dunsparce and a Ralts. Let's see what we've got in the deck. We've got all the Duns. We've got one Kirlia in hand. I've got all 3 Gallades. That's good. We've got a Lillie's in the prize cards. We've got a Wally's in the prize cards. We've prized our other candy, so that's something to bear in mind. But other than that, it doesn't look too bad. We have prized a Rocky, but I can live with that. I don't need to get a turn attachment, and obviously we don't have one anyway, but I don't need to, because like I say, Gallade is a 1 energy attacker. So, let's see what we can do here. But yeah, this has been pretty tough to make this deck work, but I'm kind of glad it is working to an extent. But obviously prizing our candy is, well, our second candy is not going to help us, but still. Oh! Oh, this is Alakazam. Ooh, this could be tough. I mean, they do need a lot, but at the same time, that is going to be tricky to deal with, because obviously we're a free prize attacking archetype. We do have Ninetales to help offset damage if they don't one-shot, but yeah, this is not good. Facing Alakazam is probably one of the worst things right now, especially since Keris Jones just took a regional win with it, so, you know, kind of her variant was a bit different, but, you know, we've got a lot to think about here. Hopefully, we can at least do something. There's Telepathic Psychic Energy. That means they prized a couple of Abras, but that's good. Oh no, they've got one in hand, that's fine. And yeah, just a pass. Fair enough. And there's a Buddy Poffin. We'll go Evolved Kirlia, Hilda for Mega Gallade plus a Rocky Energy. Because the nice thing about Rocky Energy is, it's actually pretty good for us in this matchup. Because it does stop Alakazam. But they're probably playing at least 2 hammers, if I had to imagine. So let's go for a Buddy Poffin. We'll grab you and you. I'll then Poké Pad for a Dudunsparce. Not for right now, I'll just use it for, you know, draw and stuff later. And then we'll Gale Slash take out the Dunsparce. Like I said, the fact that we're playing Quad Rocky is definitely going to help us here. But, you know, this isn't a free matchup just because we're playing Quad Rocky. They can time their E-hammers perfectly, and we are in trouble if they do that. But hopefully they don't do that. Hopefully they just play the hammer because they want to. But they probably are playing at least 2 E-hammers, if I had to make a guess. But fingers crossed that they're, you know, a bit... Yeah, see, they're just playing it for the sake of it. They're not timing it correctly, you know. And plus, like I said, this is also why I'm playing a basic fighting energy, you know. We're not just playing Rockies only. But like I say, their timing of their E-hammer there was poor. They shouldn't have played that E-hammer. They should only play it if they're going for the knockout on this Gallade. There's a handheld fan. That's going to be a problem. That is definitely going to be a problem. There's Dawn. Okay, so we've got handheld fan to worry about as well. That's not good. But yeah, this is, you know, like, they timed their hammer poorly there, at least in my opinion. They really shouldn't have played it. They've got Genesect down as well, so they can disrupt our A-Spec, which is annoying, but we'll deal with it. There's Runaway Draw. Maybe they've inspired themselves from Keris. I don't know if at the time of recording anyway, I don't know if Keris' list has actually been released. But yeah. I think I know she played E-hammers, obviously, but yeah. This might be troublesome because of this freaking hammer, but let's see what we can do about it. Let's go for a Dudunsparce. And then we'll Runaway Draw. There's another Gallade, that's good. Runaway Draw again. There's another Rocky. So that's good. We can get another Gallade established, at the very least. I could Meowth for a boss. And take out that Fez, which would be nice. I think it's fine to do that. So let's get rid of the Fire Energy as well. Oh, my Meowth isn't in deck. Okay, that's a slight issue, but not to worry. I didn't even notice it, to be honest. In that case, then, I'll just grab a Dun for next turn, I think. I don't need to really do anything now. I can evolve to Ninetales, and then I'll just Gale Slash for 170 and take out the Abra. I forgot that Meowth was prized, so that's my bad, but still. Okay, you can most definitely put it there. But anyway, let's see what we can do. There's our second candy out of the prize cards. Not going to be too relevant because we don't have another Ralts down, but still. We could just shuffle that back in with the Dunsparce. You know, they shouldn't have put that there. They should put it here. So they need 18 cards in hand to take out a Gallade. And they could most definitely do that. But like I say, this is kind of why the Rockies are in the deck, but still. There's the Genesect with a tool, so we cannot use our Prime Catcher now. That's something to bear in mind. Can they get to 18 cards in hand? That's going to be the question. Because we can, like I say, we can go evolve the Dunsparce, then shuffle that energy back in, and if we can find an energy, we can Wally's then attach energy and just smack the Alakazam in the face. But still, there's a Dawn, so they're going to go up to 16 cards in hand. Have they fezzed yet? They have. Okay. So evolving Alakazam takes them to 16, so they're not there yet. They do need another source of draw, because Kadabra doesn't do it. Because at the minute, he's doing 320 damage. That's his damage output right now. We could even try and get back that fire energy and see if we can find a Surfer of some kind. Or an Air Balloon, perhaps. I think I'll play down the Dunsparce first, use the Dunsparce, and see what we can do from there. Because at the minute, we're not really going to be doing anything. So that's 300 damage. And there it is. That's completely fine. Let's see what we can do. The Poké Pad is definitely helpful. We can thin the deck with that. Let's evolve to the Dunsparce. I'll play the Poké Pad, grab ourselves a Dun. So then we can runaway draw, put this Rocky energy back in the deck. There's Surfer. We can do it, so we might as well. So let's go for the Night Stretcher, grab back that fire energy. Attach the Ninetales. We can then Surfer into the Ninetales. We draw 1 off of that. Do I want to Night Stretcher back anything? I only have a Ralts in there, so it's not really worth it. And I will Ninetale transfer and take out the Zam. I'll take that. That's why it's in the deck list, and that's why, yes, we have quad Wallies, but having another way to do it is definitely not a harmful thing. But it is highly likely they're going to be taking, you know, a knockout here of some degree. Because they will have boss in hand, but they do need to play their cards carefully, because, you know, they still need 18 cards to do it. And they could very easily mess up their sequencing here. If they're not careful, that is. But considering they have 20 cards in hand, I think they'll be fine in terms of that. There's the Dun. Our red card is going to come in handy here, because obviously we are cutting off quite a bit of their draw as well. Well, potential draw anyway. If we can find a Gust for that Fez, that would be nice, but we'll soon find out. He has 19 cards in hand, so he can take a knockout on a Gallade, and obviously we don't have a Rocky down. If he does, though, we can obviously use our other Rocky. But he could still... he could have something here. There's Lana. So there's that. I don't think this is winnable from here, but I'm going to play it out regardless. Let's see. See, the thing is here is that even if we do take out the Alakazam and we manage to red card them, we don't really do anything. Like, they've played Lana's for turn, interestingly. They didn't actually play a Gusting card, which is just bad, you know? They're not really doing anything outside of that. But still, let's see. There's powerful hands, so they do take out the Ninetales. I should hope they do, with how many cards they have in hand. I think they're playing around red card, which makes complete sense. So let's promote the Gallade, and let's see what we can do. Okay, that's completely fine. I kind of want to dig for boss, I'm not going to lie. I kind of want to dig for boss. So I'm going to grab Dunsparce, or the Dunsparce. Evolve. I kind of want to dig for boss. Because that way we can take out Fez. There's boss. Excellent. So we can go attach Rocky, boss to Fez, and Gale Slash for 400. Take out the Fez. Nice. So now all we need to win is another knockout. And there's a Rocky. So let's see. Let's see. So like I say, they can definitely draw their way to, you know, a knockout here, but they're at 5 prize cards. They have nothing left. You know, they can draw as many cards as they like. We win. If they can, you know, find a way to disrupt our hand, which I highly doubt Alakazam is playing. Maybe it might play a red card. I doubt it, but they could. You know, as long as we can find a fighting energy, and, well, unfortunately for you, my friend, that doesn't work because you didn't find your second hammer. So then all we do is we Gale Slash for game. The quad Rocky energy is most definitely helpful in this matchup. I didn't think we was going to win that one, even with the quad Rocky, but we was able to make use of that. Really good game there against Alakazam. I'm pretty happy with that, but at least we got to use Gallade quite a bit, and obviously Ninetales got to prove its worth again. But yeah, that was quite some awkward games, I will say, and, you know, you can definitely see where I'm coming from about my assessment of this deck. So, what did I think to the deck? I'm going to tell it to you straight, don't play this deck. It's just too awkward, you know? A slight plink from a Badoo means your entire strategy relies on you finding a Wally's to heal 10 damage. Maybe, like I said, the Monkey Dory Dark Energy combo could be something you can consider. Because then if someone does do something like that, you could just go, haha, I have Monkey, attach, move it straight off, you know? You could do that. But, you know, at that point, you've got to change your stadium, which I think Battle Cage is the safest bet for this deck as a stadium, because there isn't really anything else where I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going to play this stadium down because I can, you know? Like, Jamming Tower obviously shuts off our, you know, our air balloons, and, you know, obviously we can't play Watchtower for obvious reasons, because we have the Dunsparce as our main engine, but I think this deck just isn't worth building, you know? Like, I had 3 Mega Gallades just anyway, from just opening packs and stuff, so I wasn't really too worried about that, but, you know, I just don't think Mega Gallade is very good, you know? If you want to play a Mega that does this sort of strategy, just play Lopunny, you know? Lopunny is a stage 1. Colorless obviously does have Fighting Weakness, but Fighting Weakness isn't too relevant, whereas Psychic is. You know, I think in terms of what I'd rather play as a deck, I would rather just play Mega Lopunny with like a Moltres package or something with Fire Energy and Mist Energy. Because at least then you're still covering yourself and you're not having to play Candies to go into a stage 2, which does the exact same thing as Lopunny, but it's more awkward to get it off. I don't know, that's just my assessment of this deck. But anyway, I'm going to leave it for today. I really hope you enjoyed seeing Mega Gallade with the Dudunsparce package and the Ninetales package, and I'll see you next time.